emerge from the pages feeling the way that we do when we walk out of a movie theatre after watching a really good rom-com, where we've got mascara down our faces and we have to duck into the bathroom and pull ourselves back together with our friends because we've been through the ringer, we've been through every possible emotion. And there's something just so cathartic and satisfying and fun about writing that kind of story. I'm sure everyone would agree on the panel.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, to Jane's point, there is, with all genres, readers, you come to the book with certain expectations of what's going to happen. And in a rom-com, we expect the characters will end up happily ever after or happy for now. Like, just, we're going to give this a go. And so as writers, the trick is, well, how do we surprise and delight you throughout the book so you're not just feeling, yep, I've read this book a million times before, there's nothing new here. Which is, that's where your unique experience, the fact that you lost your bag in this certain way and getting that on the page, makes it feel really fresh and unique. I do really enjoy writing. I also have kind of tried to be a screenwriter before becoming a novelist. And the fun thing about being a novelist versus, being a director is you get to play every part. You get to design all the costumes and, sort of somehow play all the characters and edit the scene exactly where you want. You get to play God, essentially, which is very fun, and to write the book that you want to read. I think that's an old piece of writing advice, like write the book that you want to read, but it really kind of clicked for me a few years ago of like, don't write to a trend, don't write to what you think someone else might like. If there are, and there obviously are aspiring writers in the room, it has been a real revelation to me to just put on the page the fantasies that I enjoy, the characters that I enjoy, the humor that I enjoy, and it does feel very satisfying and enjoyable. I love my job, and thank you for letting me have it, because art needs an audience and it's a two-way street. What do you guys think?
I'm sorry. Okay, I agree with you on so many levels. I think that writing what's from your heart, writing from your personal experience, even if it's not a memoir, is so important because it comes across on the page. So even though my other books weren't pure rom-coms, there were love stories in them, and whatever is in it and whatever the people are thinking, everyone knows love, right? So if you write what you feel, it just comes across as real, as opposed to worrying about the readers and the reviews and everything else that you really do tend to worry about. That's why writing my first novel was the most fun, because I thought no one was going to read it, but my husband, my kids, my daughters, whatever, and who cares what I write? And then after that, you're just like, oh my God, everyone's going to read it and write about it on Goodreads. But at the, writing like you've never written before is what I'm trying to say is so important. Like, you're writing it kind of for yourself, and it works, I think, much better than worrying about trends and everything else.
For rom-com overall, I think it's such an expansive sort of overall genre, because we can all think of romances that are a little lighthearted and then comedies that sort of have a romantic undertone. You can really sort of play with that balance, which is another way from using those same tropes and sort of the expected formula, but really kind of playing with how much of the romance or the comedy you lean into. For my book, for example, it's honestly the biggest romance is really a self-love and then self-acceptance development sort of journey, and then with a lot of friend love as well. And there's romance, there's a wedding book, there's got to be some romance, but really finding that balance for you in terms of what you really like. And for me, that ends up being, if you call, most people say like rom-com, but I guess for my book, you put the emphasis on the com, like French rom-com, like that.
FYI, Elle is a doctor in her day job. It's a different name, but we were not going to tell you what it is. You have to guess.
So my patients don't Google me, get confused.
When I was designing and writing the character Carmen Bronze, who is my famous romance novelist, in the beginning, I made her a romance novelist sort of as a lark. And this was before I had really gotten back into reading romance again. This was sort of 8-9 years ago when I was writing this book at first. And I thought, oh, this will be so hilarious, she's a romance novelist. But I was like, I feel like I should read more romance and more rom-com and make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I'm so glad I did, because I got a huge education in the way that romance and rom-com have sort of changed since I was reading those books when I was maybe 18, 19, like pulling them off the library or my mom's shelves. And I was like, oh my God, it's so more feminist, it's so more interesting. There's so many other things that are happening in these books. And I can't, this isn't gonna be the joke. It's not a joke that she's a romance novelist. I'm gonna have to completely retool this and make sure that I'm coming at it with a lot of respect for the genre and a respect for a book that you can read, you know, in a day and on the beach, that's a real compliment, and sort of changing the way that I was seeing it, and that impacted my entire book.
So this is because Georgia brought this up, but when you're writing sex scenes, do you share these sex scenes with your partner, and what do your partners think about them?
Great question. Sex scenes, I mean, some writers really love writing sex scenes. I like writing like kissing scenes. I'm like all there. The sex scenes, it kind of just feels awkward. Like I feel like I'm in the room with my characters and it's like, okay guys, like close off, like let's get to it. And it just feels a little, you have to kind of create, like I write in a way that I feel like it's really working when the characters feel independent of me and they are making decisions, like I'm in charge, but they're really doing all the work in a way. And like that's when I feel like I'm really in the flow. You know, like it's a very gentle hand that is guiding the book, and they're, you know, it's like, okay, we're gonna do a sex scene, like show me what you got. And it is, you know, that the way to write a sex scene is to slow everything down, you know. So it's like you're as a reader, you're there for every kind of touch, every movement. You know, it's not like, wait, how did they get across the room? Like, weren't they in the kitchen? You know. And my wife is, she used to be my first reader, the person that you read the book to first. Look, we have a great marriage, but she is not a great first reader. She's very sensitive, and if she hears something that she doesn't like, there's a full body reaction. It's like, I just don't know, and it's like, babe, calm down. It's the first draft. Like, we don't need to lose our minds here. Just give me the notes, and it just gets very tense. Because the other thing, if you are lucky enough to be partnered or friends with a writer, let me tell you the only answer to this question: do you want to hear some of my book? Can I read some out to you? The only acceptable answer is yes. Oh my God, I've been waiting all day for this. Like, clear my schedule. And she'd be like, oh, okay. I just need to do something first, and then I'm on the ground weeping. You know, like, you don't love me or the writing. So she doesn't. She also didn't finish reading my last book, which is something she's really embarrassed about, and she'd hate that I told you. So she's not a great first reader, and I think that, I don't think she's even read some of the sex scenes, but like I like writing them, and they're something that readers really enjoy. So I feel like I'd rather hear from readers about what they think of those scenes than my own partner.
If it makes you feel better, my husband is a surgeon who just does not read for fun. He reads textbooks only. Like, there needs to be anatomy drawings and, you know, sutures in there. He will not read it. He did read my book to be supportive. I asked him, you know, what he thought, and he was just like, "There's a lot of kissing." All right, we'll just stop there in terms of feedback from you. But for me, I sort of avoid that. I write mostly like sort of fade to black sex scenes. For my books, the focus, and probably just maybe because I'm a little scared of kind of going past that closed door, but it's really just about